Welcome to Gym Owner Freedom. I am Scott Carpenter, and I am a former broke, struggling, frustrated, and overworked gym owner that felt stuck no matter what I did to try and improve the business. Once I realized that the answer wasn't what I thought it was, just getting more clients, and after really doing the math on acquisition and churn rates, I realized I wasn't even playing a winnable game to begin with. With my current price structure, mathematically, there was no way I could afford to pay my staff so I could scale up and out of the business, that I can have the time, the money, the impact, and the freedom that I always knew I was capable of. Once I learned how to add value by selling transformational programs to people who needed more than just workouts, everything changed in my life. Today, I own 6 gyms that all run without me, and I am free to pursue my passion projects and work just because I love to, not because I have to. And if that's a goal that we mutually share together, then this is the show for you. I'm going to teach you the framework to make way more money with less clients and open up a world of possibilities to you. Subscribe, leave a review, and tune in every week. It'll change your life. I promise you that. Sweet. We are live streaming. How's it going, Dave?
It's going great, man. It's a good busy one. Good start to the new year. What about you?
It's great start to new year. It got crazy cold. I don't know, because we're on opposite ends of the valley. We're in Arizona, for those of you who don't know. But we actually got snow up here at my house. I'm in like the Northwest Valley.
Really?
And we're a little bit up because we're right on the mountain, but we got some snow. The neighborhood looked like it was like Christmas, which is extremely rare.
Wow.
Did you get that where
No,
you're?
but
No?
I'm a princess right now, man. Like if it is 30 degrees in Phoenix, it's like I'm double hoodieing it up for my walks. I have gloves on, so it is yeah, man. It is. I'm not used to this at all.
Yeah, it's freezing for us. But I'm going to type in that at everyone, we are live and sharing our secrets. Join in, exclamation point, boom. And then we're going to get to it because we've got a pretty good one today. And Dave, you and I kind of launched this new session type 3 years ago is that about right?
I was thinking of that when we were talking about what we're going to chat about today. It was actually, I still remember the conversation that we had. We launched this even before we did our transformation. So this was, I believe, like probably 6 or 7 months before we really transitioned into the high ticket, maybe even a year. So we've been experimenting it now close to probably 5 years.
Yeah. And it's you're right. And then we did it at all of the locations, kind of when we went live with the high ticket transformations. And what we're talking about, guys, is our session type. And there's a lot of models out there. There's large group, there's small group training, there is semi-private training, there is one-on-one training, right? There's hybrid training, which kind of combines in person, in whether it's one-on-one or group, with online coaching, right? And then there's virtual, there's online coaching. So there's a lot of different session types out there. Every single one has pros and cons. And right now you're probably using at least 1, maybe 2. Some places do even 3 different types, which convolutes it. Now, Dave and you and I have been through everything. So with the first location, I bought Underground Fitness, the first location, and it remained Underground Fitness because I didn't have enough money to rebrand it. The signs were there, the vinyl was there, and that was large group. So that was a large group training studio. They had a couple independent contractors, and they're paying rent to train one-on-one clients. That was it. And it was literally on punch cards, $100 for 10 visits with a literal punch card that used like one of those star-shaped punchers in there. Yeah. So that's what I inherited and spent a lot of money on. There's like $600-700 a month in revenue I walked into. And I didn't walk into a CRM. I didn't walk into a database like that. I didn't walk into any kind of member management software. I walked into like legitimately just a Rolodex holding business cards in there that had A through Z. So you look them up by their name and then punch the card. It was pretty rough, man. So it's where I started 12 months ago. And then, so we had large group. I brought in one-on-one because that's my background. I worked for Lifetime Fitness for a while. So I brought in one-on-one. And then we rocked. Then I got the second location, which is where I met you, Dave.
Mhm.
Bought that second one location, and that had PT,
Mhm.
and it had a mixture of 30 and 60-minute at Arrowhead, and then it had PT, and then it had large group. I think that large group was limited there, maybe just like, I don't even remember, 6 times a week or something like that, 3 to 6 times a week. I'm not even sure.
We killed it, I think, after 90 days. So it was kind of on life support, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. It was on life support. That was messy. But what we did before we technically killed it, and at my original location, I had it for far longer as well, because so much was built on it. And we brought in semi-private training. So semi-private training we brought in, and we did it at initially $30 a session. Later on, some locations were $40 a session. Now, that's too low, right? But that is what most people do. Most people do 30 or 40 per session when it comes to semi-private training. That's the market rates, what everybody's kind of doing. And that's what we did as well. So we had, at one point, we had large group, we had semi-private, and we had one-on-one PT. And what I realized was when we put in semi-private, a lot of people are willing to pay more for a better level of service, right? They were just wanting it instead of the 99 to 149 stuff. So when I got good at selling that and selling that in PT, what I realized is like, first order of business, let's just get large group off. Let's just get it off the menu. I can always throw a Hail Mary and sell it if I need to, but let's get that off the menu. And then it didn't affect closing at all. I'm still closing the same percentages, just they're going in PT or they're going in semi-private. And so then what we did, we eventually killed group, like Dave was saying. It didn't take too long at Arrowhead, but at the other location, it was more ingrained. So it took a little bit. We kind of merged it in with semi-private. And then for years, you and I, at all the different locations, we ran with PT and we ran with semi-private training. And we did that for a very long time. And that had its own problems, right? So we were really good at selling PT, right? PT was our big bread and butter. The issue with personal training is scalability. Scalability. Because everybody wants primetime mornings, everybody wants primetime evenings. And the issue with that is that there's only so many 5 p.m.s, there's only so many 6 p.m.s a day, and it's one. So if you're having a lot of PT, now you have to hire a lot more trainers or coaches or whatever you want to call them. And the issue is that's fine, except for the fact that there's not enough hours in the other hours of the day to fully employ them. And so the issue that you get is that as you need to grow and hire more, you're underemploying people. And not every, some people are part-timers. It's hard to find really good part-timers though. Right. So sometimes you're hiring, but they're not really invested in your company. They don't really care about your vision or your culture. They don't do as good of a job sometimes, or they're really good people and you just can't pay them enough. There's just not enough opportunity for them. And the minute you are really relying on one-on-one PT and you lose that trainer, you're going to see 60 to 80% of their clients leave, whether they leave with them or just discontinue. It's happened. So we've had it where we've been growing up a great business, Dave, and then we lose a trainer or two, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's like we're starting over. Mm-hmm. And your location, you had the least problem with turnover when we were running this model. That being said, eventually you got it too.
I got hit with a bug, man. It was we went for what, 5 years. We had the same exact staff, and we lost our basically probably the most talented trainer that I've ever met to this day. We had to let him go. Our younger kid that we were really bringing up kind of from scratch, he moved back home, and then Trisha got pregnant and is like, I just want to do this mom thing. So in a matter of what, 6 or 7 months, we lost three really talented, solid trainers who the entire community loved. So that's kind of what forced us in a lot of ways to move over to this model. It forced us.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say most of what got us where we're at now to be very successful came from us having some really bad moments in time and forcing us to change and adapt and do it smarter rather than harder. More upside, less risk, right? More security. And so our problems have actually fueled a lot of our growth in business
Mhm.
and the way we do things now. But yeah, and that amazing trainer, unfortunately, I mean, there's nothing we could do. He was so good at what he did.
Mm.
And then he just got into drugs, and he became a different person. And it was such a sad situation because there's nothing we could do. Nothing we could do. So you look at a string and you can be a great leader, right? You can have an amazing staff of great people, but something like that can still get you, right? There's drugs. He's moving back home to be with family. And then the other one, right? She gets pregnant, decides she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. Shit, that'll wipe you out pretty good. So that's the downside of one-on-one training too. It's a little bit more, you have more vulnerability with it, and
Mhm.
it's more dependent on your staff. But yeah, when you need a lot more staff, their bodies are also going to fill up more space. One
Mhm.
trainer working with 4 people is a lot different than 4 trainers working with 4 people on a fitness floor,
Mm.
right? So there's weaknesses on the one-on-one, but we ran with semi-private and one-on-one for a while. Now, this can create some awkward moments too, because you might be talking to somebody who's going to be a good fit for semi-private. That's what's in their budget. Um, or because you have these 2 different options, that's what they'd prefer to pay. But it might be at 2 p.m. and you don't want to start up at 2 p.m. hour because there could be just be her in it for the next 6 months. And you got to pay out virtually most of that to a trainer, and you might be breaking even, or you got to pay them when they show up or not show up. And the minute it's tough to decide, should I start a new hour or not?
Mhm.
You have that with group. And when you only have one person there for a long time, it kind of sucks because there's not much in it. And if it's just you doing it too, maybe you're the owner and doing most of the sessions right now. Yeah, you're donating 3 hours a week by signing somebody up at 2 p.m. for very little money. For very little money. But we ran with private and semi-private for the longest time. And then we decided to change things. And it was based on some of the issues that we were going through. So we're going to walk you through what we call overlapping personal training, overlapping PT, and kind of what it looks like, how we use it. There are 2 things. We talk about your profit. We want to see you in one studio being able to net profit 30 to 50%, okay, of your total revenue. That is phenomenal profit. There are two things that really help us get those levels of profit. Number one is offering high and mid ticket programs. A lot of you guys know how we help you build, sell, fulfill, renew high ticket programs where you're selling something that's 9 weeks for like $3,000, give or take, depending on who you are, anywhere from 2 to 8,000, really. But that really brings you to the next level. And the other thing is overlapping personal training. That is where we can pay out less as a percentage of labor, but our trainers and coaches actually make more money than they do at all our competitors, and we give them amazing careers. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we'll walk you through how it works and the math on it. So essentially, we're able to charge more. We eliminate capacity concerns that we have with one-on-one, and we pay out less while the trainer makes more. And so everybody wins in this, and the clients love this. Since we moved to this, Dave, I mean, it's alleviated a lot of client concerns because what we're doing is we're showing something that's a higher perceived value. We're
Mhm.
delivering it in a way that they get to know other people, and it's more of community building than one-on-one, where it's like they just know, they may say hi to somebody else, but they just know that trainer and have that one-on-one relationship. That can be dangerous, right? They get to know other people. Okay. So you get that. And again, people who want personal training, what do they value the most? It's not a cheap, yeah, it's time. It's not a cheaper rate. It's not a discount. Like, they value their time. People are coming in, they want your best option because they believe personal training is the top tier, right? They value their time. These are people who are financially successful. They're happy to pay you 600 to 1,200 bucks a month forever, just to babysit them. Okay. But what they value is their time. They want to come when it's convenient for them with the things that they have with work and family and extracurricular activities. They want some versatility in when schedule changes happen, right? Like, one of our locations is near Mayo Clinic. So we have a lot of doctors or nurses or anesthesiologists, right? Where they get delayed. They don't always have the most predictable schedule. They have to move around last minute or shortly or close to it in order to come to the sessions. And if you're doing the training yourself, if you just have a trainer who's and you're getting pretty booked up, great. But then you have no versatility to move your clients around for when they need to go out of town and having them come in earlier. So they actually get the times that work better for them long term, and they are going to be way more likely to stay long term when then they can come in at 5 p.m. on their way home from work instead of going home, screwing around for a little bit, having dinner, and then missing out on time with the kids because they got to come back at 7:30 at night because that's the only spot you have available. So there's a lot of pros to it. So let's show you a graphic comparing what the market does for one-on-one personal training versus semi-private training versus what we do with overlapping personal training. Okay. Your numbers are going to vary. I'm just taking what we see the most common in the market. So one-on-one PT charging, let's say $80 a session. Okay. Some people do 30 minutes. Some people do 45. Some people do 60. This could be on the low end for you. This could be a little bit higher than you're charging now. Let's take an $80 per hour rate. Okay. I would say post-pandemic, I would say this rate is creeping up even higher. I would say for a lot of hour PT, hour-long 60-minute PT, we're probably seeing maybe closer to 90 as a market and a little bit less. I'd say probably about like 50 for 30 minutes is what a lot of people charge. But again, it can vary across the board. So let's take an $80 price point. Let's say you're paying out $30 for payroll. If it's not you servicing it, that's $50 profit for that hour. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Not a huge problem with that, right? Yeah, your margins are getting up there to pay out is getting up there. But the big thing that you run into here, you can bring in a lot of money very quickly with personal training clients. We had it. Our magic one was when we'd sell the 3 time a week one for $840 a month, right, Dave? That was like the best thing we could sell. Pop the champagne, right? Now, because we have and this is just for our low ticket. This is just workouts only we're talking. So when you combine this with high ticket, it gets very lucrative. But this is what most people do. Limitations, though, is yes, your capacity is one trainer, 1 hour. And so you run into the issues that we talked about. Well, this is why a lot of people do semi-private. That and to bring the price point down. So the average rate out there charging is $30 per session. 30 to 40 is really where I see things at. Some people do it higher, and it's way advised to go higher on this. Absolutely. But this is where I see it. So if you have 4 clients in that hour paying $30 a session, you have $120 in revenue. Okay. The way people pay out on this one, it's going to range a little bit. Most people pay based on how many are in there. Some people pay based on a flat fee. Some have salary. But let's use what I see the most often. Let's say $40. If it's a full class, with 4 people in there, let's say it's $40. 120 in revenue minus $40 in payroll is $80 profit, which is pretty good. Now you're making more than you are one-on-one. But what's the con on this one? The big con is you're making, instead of $50 profit, you're making $80. So you're getting a decent jump there. But you have to find 4 times as many people to do that. 4 times, right? You have to get 3 times as many to make the same amount on PT. So it looks good. You can sign up more people, but a lot of times your margins are lacking there. And great, you're signing up and it's a good rate. But again, you're playing a volume game on something like that where it's harder to do. And so these 2 options were what we ran with for the longest time. Then we decided, Dave, this is kind of your idea, wasn't it?
It was after all hell broke loose and we lost all of our trainers, and I had to jump back in, and I was training. I have to find the graphic, the screenshot of my calendar. Like I was back up to training 40 to 50 hours a week. And I remember calling you. I still remember the day. It was a sunny day. It was when Carrie was pregnant too. So I had like that stress. So it was like before the pandemic, and I was like, dude, something has to change. And so it's kind of just a kind of a gunslinging idea. I was like, I'm going to tell all of my clients that I can't do this anymore. We're going to work out together as a freaking family, and I'm going to give them extra accountability outside. And PJ was the only client that left out of all of my clients. And then I condensed everything down. I had my alpha hour was from 5 a.m. to 6. I had Steve B, Steve Valentine. It was just a dudes group. And they came in. The workout experience was probably, I would say, much better because you're moving and you're sweating with other guys. But at the same time, with semi-private, traditionally everyone's doing the same workout. I was able to customize their workouts. So hypothetically, it could have been the two Steves. They always worked out together. Every Monday it was their leg day. But Andrew was a part of that group, and he was just, I mean, he was a guy that needed to lose 80 pounds. So he had a completely different workout. And the group also had Luigi was also a part of that group. Same concept. Luigi had to lose, I think, north of like 150 pounds. So that's the kind of high level guys. That's the way that it works. Like, and all these guys supported the two Steves, which were a little bit more advanced. They supported Luigi. So you get all the benefits of your big group experience, but then you also get all the benefits of the one-on-one experience. And that's why you cap out the groups at 3 to 4. So you can make sure that everyone's form is 100% locked in and on point. So it's, for me, if you're building a model from scratch, this is the only delivery of workouts that you need, period.
Yep. If you, and for a lot of people, we've worked with a lot of gymmers that have switched from one-on-one to overlapping, or even from semi to overlapping. They're very similar. We'll get into the subtle differences between semi-private and overlapping PT. They're very similar. It's just, there's pros and cons of PT. There's pros and cons of semi-private. Overlapping is designed to have the pros of both without the cons of either. And so we'll show you kind of the subtle differences in there. But that's it. It's just, we realize, like, do you really need one-on-one? Now, if you are doing really advanced injury rehab and all that kind of stuff, yeah, you may, okay? But for the most part, it's a better experience if it's not a one-on-one rent-a-friend situation. You and I both know what that gets like by the time you're working with somebody for 6 months. You know, you do less and less work over time. It's more and more about catching up over what you did over the weekend or what shows you're watching on Netflix or blah, blah, blah. Like, and just less work gets done. I mean, I was a personal trainer for 4 years before I got my first business, and many years afterwards before I got out of it. So I'm just as guilty of that as anybody else. I know that intimately. And the cool thing is yeah, when you're working with more than one person at a time, but each of them is getting the individual touch points, each of them is being pushed how they need to be pushed, it's more enjoyable for everybody. More work gets done, and they get to know other people. They get to joke around. You get to lead it. And so some people are like, well, how the hell do you do that on the programming? Guys, it's so simple. Don't overthink it. And again, you might not start with a max of 4. You could do 3, you could do 2. But think about it. Like, do you need to work with that person one-on-one? What if a husband and a wife come in, they're doing a consultation with you? The husband, say he's worked out a little bit before, he's done some PT or something back in the past. You know, he wants to get chest and some arms, lean out a little bit, but put on some muscle and get in better shape. And he's familiar with strength training. Let's say his wife has just been a cardio queen before. She's never done anything else other than that. She's inexperienced in strength training. Maybe she's got a bit of an iffy knee or maybe a shoulder issue. Okay. But they want to work out PT together, with you, right? And do partner training that hour. How would you handle their workouts? And whatever that answer is, guys, that's exactly what you do for overlapping PT. So bottom line is they're going to have overlap with their programs and some of the exercises, but you're going to modify what he needs to do. You're going to modify what she needs to do. Maybe you're giving him more upper body, pump stuff, and then you're doing more, whatever it is. But you can work with them both. You're directing what they need, the workouts, what they need to have done, right? And for each of them, which is slightly different, you're giving them the direction, and then you're coaching and cueing, working on form, giving the encouragement, and also entertaining them in that hour, right? That's it. So when we talk about it, like, first of all, personal training has a higher perceived value than semi-private, than small group, than large group. When people are looking for the best option, they talk about personal training. They know the difference on that. So a lot of times that's what they're looking for. Your best clients who want to pay you the most want personal training. So instead of us calling it semi-private, we get to call it personal training. And then we get to describe how we deliver that. And it's again, it's for their benefit. It's for their benefit. It's so that they can get the time. So you can come in here on your way home after work instead of wasting all that time and coming back at 8 p.m. We use an overlapping format, meaning we might be working with one or two other people while we're working out so that you can get the times that work best for you. And when you have to go out of town, we have to come in early or late, we're able to get you in and get consistency in the workouts, which is important. The only con is that we're not going to stand over them and count the reps. And when I say that, like the only con is we're not going to, hover over you and count your reps. They're like, oh, I don't need that. Before I can even say that they don't need that. It's so easy. As fitness professionals, we get hung up on that session type as having the value, And in reality, that's not it. That is not what is the most important thing. Now, they do perceive personal training as higher value for sure. So that's why we're going to call it that. And that is one of the subtle differences of semi-private and overlapping. And here's the cool thing. So a lot of with semi-private, hey, here's a list, here's our schedule, right? We have Monday through Saturday. Here's the different times. And then a lot of times we leave it up to the clients to come when they want, right? They schedule in with an app or whatever you have. That also is lower perceived value. Even though they have more flexibility, they perceive it lower. Because a lot of people, and we know this from experience, people have been with us for a decade. A lot of people will keep coming to you with PT because they have an appointment, because there's somebody there waiting for them. Your best clients, your lifers, the people who will pay you for a decade and longer and be happy to pay you $600 to $1,200 a month, those people love the appointment because it holds them accountable. If it's semi-private or small group or large group, they can decide, not really feeling it today. I'll go in tomorrow instead. And then they can just, right? They just, whatever they do with however you have it arranged on the back end. Personal training has a degree of accountability just by nature. And so being able to call it that and handle it like that is actually a benefit. And that's exactly what we do. So talk about the subtle difference of semi and overlapping. One is how we talk. It's subtle. One is how we talk about it, right? A little bit on how you deliver it. But a lot of it is how we schedule it. So you know how I was talking about before, where with semi-private, you have to decide, well, should we open up a new group or not? You don't have to do that with PT. Obviously, if you don't have any availability, you can't schedule them, and don't schedule them. But here's an example of a trainer schedule. This is our mind-body system. So you can see this guy works a split shift. The great thing about this is you don't even need your trainers to work a split shift with this. You could have one morning, one evening, and you have a massive capacity. So for instance, on this one, he has 100 personal training sessions on the books. Okay. Now, in a PT model, that would be impossible. One person could not service 100 PT sessions. They would be working 100 hours a week. 100 hours a week. We would need 4 personal trainers at least to handle this workload, because we're split between, right, primetime evening, primetime morning. You would need 4 trainers to handle this workload otherwise. And as you can see, during some days and times, he's working with just one person. He's got Alyssa at 2 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. Some people, he's got 2 people. Some hours he's got 3 people. Some hours he's got 4 people. And so the cool thing is that when you sign somebody up, you get to talk about the times that work. Confirm that you have space. If you're running low on space, use that scarcity to sell. Like, I know we want you coming in here at 6 p.m.s. You know what? We're totally full on whatever days. We've only got 1 spot open Monday through Thursday. So let's have you come in Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, something like that. But you just schedule them when you need to. Put them all in recurring sessions. And when they happen to overlap, they happen to overlap. So the cool thing with Alyssa, we still get her, paying her full rate, which is way more than people charge for semi, even though it's solo. And yeah, it's just her in 2 of those hours a week, which is totally okay. Because when we sign we're making the money we need to there. And when somebody else needs to come in there, great, we do it. Let's say Madison, she comes in Thursdays at 4. She's like, I'm leaving out of town. Can I come in the day before? Yeah, no problem. You can either get her in at 3 or at 2 or whatever. So we have more capacity. One trainer can do the work of 4 trainers with the overlapping PT model. And that's how we're able to make higher profit margins on the labor, but our trainers get paid more. So we pay per head, right? Let's say you're paying out $15 to $20 a head, right? Let's say your average rate is $80. So let's just use rough math. You're paying out $20 a head. Your session rate, your average session rate for this is $80. You're making a 75% margin on that, which is fantastic because that is way more than most people are going to get for personal training. But look at that. So let's say there's $20 a head. In this calendar, he's got 100 sessions on the books. So let's do the math. 100 sessions times $20 is $2,000. Let's multiply that by 4.333. That's $86.66 a month times 12. That's $104,000 that he can make. Well, we're making 74% margins on that. Let's also say we've got an average session rate of $80. Let's see how much business he's servicing by himself. So $80 times 100 PT sessions is $8,000. Okay. A week times 4.333. That's almost $35,000 in revenue this trainer's servicing. Now, your average session rate might not be 80. Ours is 80 because we have low ticket, high ticket, mid ticket involved in there. Roughly. I'd have to redo the math on it, but it's give or take around that spot. This could be more at 60. This could be more at, in which case you're probably paying out less. This could be even higher. You know, we were chatting with a trainer around Brentwood in LA, you know, where he can charge $180 for a one-on-one PT session. Can you imagine what the damage he's going to do with something like this? It's going to be incredible. So at the end of the day, the way you book them in, you just handle them like a normal personal training client. Best practice, get all your people in recurring sessions and then just move them around when there's exceptions. People value having an appointment and not leaving it up in the air. You'll get better attendance. You'll hold them more accountable. You give them exactly what they need and just move them around when you need to move them around. If you start to, hey, we're at really capacity that hour, cool. That's off limits, right? For new people coming in. Not a big deal. But it is super easy to do. You don't have to make decisions. Should we cut this one? Should we add it? I don't know. It's this awkward thing. And right now we got to switch her into one-on-one because it's semi-private. We don't want to open it up then, or we don't offer it then. Like you can just go with this model and it's super easy. Hey, just a quick reminder to everybody. If you are ready to start making an extra $10,000 more this month, every month, by making more money with less clients with transformational programs and create a consistent flow of high quality leads, you can learn more about what it's like to work with me and my team at PT Legends and how ridiculously affordable it is at CoachScottCarpenter.com. It is such a no-brainer that it more than pays for itself when we teach you how to enroll just two case study clients. Really, that's it. So go to CoachScottCarpenter.com and learn more about it. Dave, did I give a good breakdown on that one? Or what other questions do people normally ask you about on overlapping PT?
We just started our newest January cohort today. And I always go around the room and just, hey guys, why are you in this business? What's your North Star? And it was George today. He's like, man, I want to make careers for my trainers. So I was just talking to T Hutch yesterday, Taylor Hutchinson, who we've coached for the past year. That's one of his biggest North Stars. They want to make career opportunities for their trainers. This is the number one way to have a trainer who is obsessed with the actual delivery of workouts, turn it into a full-time career. And as Project Greenlight, I know that once we bring these people into our pipeline, these trainers, and then they're making 60, 70, 80, 100, $120,000, what does that do? That is going to eliminate, like, nobody's ever going to leave us. Yeah. So that's one of my biggest benefits. And I would say a lot of the legends who we work with, they're always one of their big North Stars is career opportunities for their trainers. It's not really possible to have a career opportunity for a trainer in just a strictly one-on-one environment. It's way too volatile.
It's volatile. It's difficult. And again, you need so many more of them and you're going to underemploy some of them. Even if you got somebody that's making good money, you're going to underemploy the others. And it's a really tricky thing because gym owners are such good people. And they desperately want to create afford like career opportunities for their employees. It's one of the number one things that they want to do. The problem is the margins. The problem is that there's just not enough bread in the basket to go around for everybody. And while commanding a premium price point with our high, mid, and low ticket offer, our 3-tiered offers, and overlapping personal training, it gives you the ability to build a comp plan like no other and have way more stability and way more pay for people. And yeah, I mean, whether it's $60,000 to $120,000 a year, they can make that, which is pretty amazing. And this is how we did it. Like, here's us going out to dinner, with the crew of studs in here. But that's how we're able to create really good opportunities. You need to make the margins so that you can pay the amazing staff and create career opportunities. And should you want to, start to get yourself off the floor and work fewer and fewer hours, should that be one of your goals. It's so important to do. And even if you're a solo practitioner, we work with a lot of independent contractors as well, or people that want to have their own studio or their own gym someday. The cool thing about this is we've helped people, trainers, that we've helped them find a space to rent and implement overlapping PT, even though it's just themselves. And what they're finding is their income ceiling, because you can only train so many hours a week. I mean, even 25 hours, you guys know 25 hours a week on the floor is a lot. That'll suck your soul. Like, more than that is really tough. Dave, you're probably the biggest workhorse that I've seen be able to do something like that. I mean, you've done 30, 40 plus in a week, but you know better than anybody else that's not sustainable long term.
No, it's not. It's not possible. You can do little sprints of it. It's not possible.
Nope. And so, I mean, you could literally find a place to rent, be open for 3 to 4 hours, just do morning or just do evening, and you can still easily make 6 figures as a solo independent personal trainer paying rent somewhere else. It's pretty phenomenal. Who have we helped do stuff? Dan Clayton had his own place with just him. By switching everybody from one-on-one to overlapping, he was able to 4x his capacity, condense all the hours. So he saved hours off of his workload, lost 0 people. And then we opened it up for him to do high ticket offers and start doubling his rates for what he was previously charging. Changed his life in a matter of a month. 4 weeks doing this. 4 weeks doing this. It was incredible. Who else? Austin Garber. He quit his job, we helped him find rent, crushed it. In 10 months, he had a lease on a space and he opened up his doors like 6 months later. It took forever. It was California, a million hoops to jump through to permits to open it. But he's crushed it, right? With an overlapping PT model. Now, what if you're group only? If you're group only and PT, switch your PT into overlapping. You will have the best scalability. It's about scalability, guys. And it's really hard to scale one-on-one. So go overlapping if you already have one-on-one. If you're running a killer semi-private model right now, and it's already full and, decently full, you can just keep it with semi-private. But what I want you to do is I want you to charge way more. What you got to realize is you can charge way more on that. So semi-private and overlapping are very similar, guys. It's just overlapping is a little bit easier to implement. It's a little bit higher value the way you can sell it. And it's a little bit easier to decide what times you're going to work or open up or whatever it is. It's a little bit higher perceived value, but it's very similar, just subtle differences. With overlapping PT2, in this case, in this scenario that you're looking at, everybody's starting at the same hours, but they don't have to. That's just happened to be this week. But quite often, you have 2 people start at 6 a.m. and you'd have 1 person come in at 6:30 a.m. because that just worked for their schedule. It's not a big deal. It's very easy to do with that model. So it's a little bit less strict, less planning. You don't have to make big decisions. And it's a little bit easier all around. But if you have a semi-private or overlapping PT are my favorite models. And one-on-one can be very restrictive. Let's say you're working with somebody who has some issues, right? Because they have injuries or whatever. What would you do in that case if you signed them up, but they need some one-on-one? What I would do, I just schedule the first couple sessions where they're the only ones in that hour. And then what you get to do is see how they move, see what they need, see the modifications. And then after a couple hours, you get all that. I mean, if you're good, you kind of know what you're doing, right? And then they're good to go because you're already familiar with it. That's it. Like, let's not overcomplicate this, guys. There's nothing legendary about one-on-one. And I was worried, Dave, when you first started rolling this out. I'm like, people aren't going to pay that for something that's not one-on-one. I said that. And you're like, well, let me just try it. And you just ran into no freaking resistance. None. None. Absolutely not. And so, guys, if you're group only, you want something like this too. There are people out there who don't want the bullshit group stuff. I'm not being insulting towards group. I'm just saying that's not what they're there for. There's a lot, and those are your best customers. Your best, highest paying customers that are going to stay the longest want PT. So you should have an option. Even the big chains, the big ones with hundreds are adding personal training or semi-private training onto it. Why? Because the large group only model is tough. And there are a few that are fine just with all group, but most of you want to have an overlapping PT option as well. Dave, I don't know if any questions have come up because I right now I can't get those. Did any questions come up in the comments on overlapping PT yet?
No questions, but Akeem the Dream, the man, just went through a cohort, just dominating, says he's going to end up dropping his semi-private, and he said overlapping PT saved me so much time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the thing, especially as you're building with semi-private too, you got a whole, if you've agreed to open up these times, you got to be there. Even if no one's there, somebody could show up and you're giving them control of the scheduling. You're extending and opening up your time. And if it's just you or you and another person, you're still growing your business. You haven't like fully fleshed it out and scaled everything. That's tough. It's a big time commitment to sign up one person that might be paying you $360 a month. And you got to open up 3 more hours just in case. That's a big time commitment, guys. And not so big if you're in the scaling part of your business. If you're scaling and you already have a big team that's really doing all the floor work, it's a little bit easier. But if you're in the process of growing your business to the point where you're making $100,000, $200,000 a year, and it's just you full time, or maybe you and one other person, it's tough. It's tough. Until you have it's self-sustaining volume. It's way harder to grow your business with semi-private than it is with overlapping PT. If you're already established, you run an awesome semi-private business and you've scaled, great. You don't necessarily need to make this change, but I really would love to see you up your price with a 3-tiered offer: high ticket, mid ticket, low ticket. Right? That's your next move. If you're just growing, or you have one-on-one in addition to large group, like I would highly consider you go into overlapping PT. So those are my suggestions, guys. You want to discuss exactly how to do this. Josh Price will hop on a call and talk about your motto and semi versus overlapping PT, or walk you how you would transition that into your business if you want to have some of his time. He'd be happy to help you out for free. Schedule like 30 minutes on if overlapping PT would be a good fit and how it would work in your business. We don't charge to learn to teach this stuff and to learn how to do that. Why would we donate our time to do that? Well, so many of you need help in other areas when it comes to lead generation. A lot of you are having issues with leads in terms of creating higher ticket offers and learning how to sell the living shit out of them, right? And the bottom line is we lead with a help first mentality. We'll help you out, and it usually comes back with us because we know what we're talking about. We do it ourselves, and we've helped hundreds of other gym owners around the world. So we can absolutely hop on that. And if you want, just comment overlapping PT in the comments. He'll reach out. He'll schedule a time with you, spend 30 minutes and teach you how to do it inside of your specific business model. So you don't watch this. You're like, wow, I really need to do that. I see the wisdom in it, but I don't really know how I do that. So let's just take that off the plate. Comment overlapping PT. Josh will reach out, spend 30 minutes with you, and you can start implementing this in your gym. Sound good? Love it, man. Anything else to add, Dave?
No, it'll probably be a different training, but it gets super fun, guys, when you use overlapping PT just as part of the solution and you start stacking mentorship and accountability. That's what makes the overlapping PT an absolute no-brainer. I say let's do a separate training on that.
Okay.
offer that I'm most excited that we're doing right now with Greenlight, it includes an onboarding, customized plan. They get a weekly email check-in. They talk with their mentor on a monthly basis. So then by the time you mention the overlapping PT, they're like, yeah, 100%, let's go.
Yeah.
Right now we're experimenting with 30-minute overlapping PT sessions, and people are paying $600 a month. So
Yep.
it gets really fun. And that's how you can, like, especially with existing clients, you can't just say, hey, you're going to work out in a group and we're going to 3x your price. It's like, what? No, what else are you bringing to the table? So just by adding more value, man, people don't care if they're working out in a small group.
Nope. And I totally left that out, which is dumb of me. Here's the thing. The method of delivery of workout really doesn't freaking matter, guys. If you're listening to this, I can work out with you. You can be my coach. Okay. Does it really matter if I'm working out with you with 6 other people or 4 or 2 or 1? I could work out with you one-on-one or overlapping one-on-one. You'll still get me amazing results. It's not about the delivery of the workouts. They're necessary, but guys, it's about the other 165 hours a week that I'm not working out with you. That's where the progress comes from. And so we sell solutions, not sessions. Screw selling sessions. Find out what they're actually here for, which is to feel better about themselves, not just to lose the weight, but they're here to feel better about themselves. That's it. Like, you sell that solution with these high and mid-ticket offers. And when you talk about the delivery of the session, it's like, it doesn't matter because that's not what they're buying anyways. That's why this stuff is so easy. And we're like, man, we can sell one-on-one training for, that's not one-on-one, the same rates. And it's because we're not selling sessions, guys. We're selling what they really, truly want underneath. And that's what Dave's in the best of the world at teaching. So yeah, I agree. Let's do a separate training solely on that one. I think that'd be great to do. All right, guys, we're good 50 minutes into this almost. So we are going to cut it off here. Type overlapping PT in the comments. We will hop on a call with you, teach you how to do that inside of your specific model. And then we are going to show up next Thursday, same time, same place, 12 p.m. East, PST, 3 p.m. EST, right here in Gym Owner Freedom Facebook group. We will come on, teach you another valuable topic. Thanks a lot, guys, and we will see you next Thursday. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you are ready to start making an extra $10,000 a month or more this month by making more money with less clients and create a consistent flow of high-quality leads, you can learn about what it's like to work with me and how ridiculously affordable it is at CoachScottCarpenter.com. And if you got any value out of this episode, please pay it forward and leave a review for this show. It helps other gym owners find the answers to the huge problems that we all share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.